Normal survival instincts that get you killed. Today, number 10. The fight or flight panic mode. Ever been in a situation where you suddenly freeze or run when you should have just calmly evaluated things? You're not alone. The fight or flight response, that ancient survival mechanism hardwired into your brain, might have been a lifesaver when you were face to face with a saber-toothed tiger. But nowadays, not so much. Imagine you're walking through the park when you suddenly see a group of teenagers on bikes, circling around you with the kind of intensity usually reserved for high-stakes Pokemon battles. Your heart starts racing. You can't help it. Your body has flipped the switch from chill mode to full-on panic. Your brain sends a message to your muscles. Run. But wait, maybe they're not after you. Maybe it's just a weird coincidence. But your body doesn't care, because it's programmed to treat anything as a threat. You start to sprint like you're in a horror movie, maybe even knocking over a few innocent people on the way. And while you're busy fleeing an invisible danger, you miss the fact that they were just passing by, minding their own business. Your brain? Totally convinced you were about to be devoured by wild teens. Thanks, evolution. This fight-or-flight instinct served a very real purpose in the past, but now, it tends to overreact in less than life-threatening situations. Your body's like a hyperactive toddler who's convinced every bump in the night is a monster, even when it's just the fridge making weird noises. Today, this ancient wiring can leave you looking like a fool, or worse, put you in actual danger by triggering the wrong response at the wrong time. So, the next time you feel your pulse spike because your Amazon delivery guy looks at you a little too intensely, just remember, it's your primal instincts working overtime. Totally not helpful, but they mean well. Number 9. The herd mentality hysteria. The glorious human tendency to follow the crowd. It's comforting to know that if you're ever in doubt, all you need to do is look around and do what everyone else is doing. After all, that's worked so well for us in the past, right? Except, no. The truth is, following the herd can easily get you killed. And no, I'm not just talking about Black Friday sales. Let's picture this. You're at a concert, having a blast, when someone in the crowd shouts, "Run!" Suddenly, a wave of panic cascades through the audience. No one knows why. Everyone's legs turn into jelly, and like lemmings off a cliff, people stampede toward the exit. And, without knowing the cause of the alarm, you join in. But what if it was just a false alarm? What if it was just someone tripping on a shoelace? In your rush to follow the herd, you're now running in a frenzy, making the situation way more dangerous than it ever needed to be. This is herd mentality in action. Your brain, overwhelmed by the collective fear of the crowd, convinces you that danger is imminent. It doesn't matter that you can't see the threat. If everyone else is running, then obviously you should too, right? Unfortunately, your brain's love for conformity often leads to overreactions and panic-induced chaos. This was fine back in the day when running with the pack meant surviving the threat of an enemy tribe or a wild beast. But now, it just gets you trampled. So next time you're in a crowd and everyone suddenly bolts, maybe stop, breathe, and ask yourself, do I really need to be part of this madness? Number 8. The overconfidence bias. Ever heard someone say, "I know I'll be fine, I've done this a million times," and immediately felt your stomach turn in fear for them? Yeah, that's the overconfidence bias in action, and it's a one-way ticket to a bad decision. Your brain thinks it knows best, but spoiler alert, it doesn't. Let's say you're driving in a hurry. You've done it 100 times before, right? Cutting corners, speeding through yellow lights, or weaving in and out of traffic because, hey, you're practically a race car driver. But guess what? Your overconfidence is so inflated right now that you don't see the car coming out of the side street. You've been driving the same route for years, so you're sure there's no need to pay that much attention anymore, right? Wrong. Your brain's judgment, owned by years of doing the same thing repeatedly, has become complacent. It tells you, you've got this, you're invincible. The thing is, overestimating your abilities doesn't just make you more reckless, it makes you less aware of potential hazards. Overconfidence convinces you that you can skip basic safety checks or that you're exempt from the same risks as everyone else. Guess what? You're not. In fact, overconfidence kills. Just look at all the daredevils who thought their stunts were just one more step from success. Spoiler alert, They're often the ones whose names end up in the news because they overestimated their abilities and underestimated reality. So while your brain is busy flexing its "I'm so awesome" muscles, maybe just pull over, double-check your seatbelt, and take a deep breath. The world doesn't need another "I thought I was invincible" story. Number 7. The optimism bias. We've all been there. You've got that flight booked and everything's set. There's only one minor issue. Your flight's going through a storm. But that doesn't matter. Why? Because you have the optimism bias, your brain's ability to ignore reality and convince you that everything is going to be fine, no matter how grim the signs. After all, why should you worry? It's probably not that bad, right? This bias is rooted in your brain's deep desire to see the world through rose-colored glasses. It convinces you that even if you're staring down a bad situation, it's going to work out. The weather's bad, you'll be fine. Your car's making a strange noise, it's probably nothing. You've never been a fan of math, but you've got this. Who cares if the plane's engine just made a weird noise? It's probably the air pressure or something totally normal. Sure, that's reasonable logic. Until your optimism turns into the wreckage of reality. Here's the kicker. This optimism might make you feel invincible, but it often leads you into situations where you're underprepared for the worst-case scenario. That's how people get into accidents, not because they were careless, but because they thought, "It'll never happen to me." So next time your brain tries to convince you to ignore red flags because everything's fine, maybe just double-check, adjust your expectations, and have an emergency kit ready. A little bit of pessimism could save your life, or at least prevent you from looking like a fool. Number 6. The recency effect. Imagine you're walking through a forest and you've been at it for hours. Suddenly, you see a squirrel. Not just any squirrel, but one that looks way too interested in you. Your heart races. Is it a sign? A wild animal warning? Will this cute little rodent attack? Why is it staring at me? Your mind goes into overdrive. This is definitely a sign of impending doom, right? Well, maybe not. But here's the thing, you're experiencing the recency effect, where your brain places too much emphasis on recent events, like that squirrel. Your mind decides that this is the threat because it's the most recent, tangible thing you've encountered, ignoring the fact that the squirrel's probably just hungry. Or, it's a squirrel. The recency effect leads you to weigh recent experiences more heavily than everything else. In a dangerous situation, this could actually kill you. For example, if you're in a car accident and you're focusing too much on the other car's behavior because you just got rear-ended, you might overlook the other cars still driving around you. They're a bigger threat, but your brain's laser focus on the immediate danger could make you miss them completely. This cognitive bias, as simple as it sounds, can trick your brain into making snap judgments that lead to disaster. Instead of rationally assessing the whole situation, you zero in on whatever just happened. Like a pesky squirrel. Your survival instincts might be way off target. The next time you're in a potentially dangerous situation, remember that your brain might be blowing things out of proportion just because it's fresh in your memory. That squirrel might just be the tip of the iceberg when it comes to how our brains get things wrong in dangerous situations. Number 5. The confirmation bias. Here's the thing about your brain. It really likes to prove itself right. It's like a stubborn know-it-all friend who's convinced their opinion is always correct, and they'll dig up every piece of evidence to support it, even if it means ignoring glaring contradictions. This, my friend, is the confirmation bias in full swing. Take driving, for instance. You're convinced that you're the best driver in your city. No one comes close. So when a car cuts you off, you immediately think, typical reckless driver, ruining the roads for the rest of us. But when you cut someone off, your brain's like, I had to do it. They were too slow. It was their fault. This is how confirmation bias works. Your brain will only seek out and validate information that supports your pre-existing beliefs or views, while conveniently ignoring anything that challenges them. The problem? This could put you in dangerous situations because you're not seeing things clearly. It's why people tend to make the same mistakes over and over. They have already decided how the world works, and anything that doesn't fit that view is dismissed. In life-threatening situations, this bias can be deadly. For example, if you believe that this street is always safe based on your past experiences, you might ignore the fact that a construction zone or other hazard has recently cropped up. Your mind's refusal to consider the possibility of danger makes it that much easier to walk right into it. So next time you find yourself thinking, "This is fine, nothing bad will happen," just take a moment and ask, "Am I overlooking something here?" Number 4, the optimism bias. Take 2. Yes, I know we've already touched on optimism, but here's the kicker. It shows up again in all its glory, because this sneaky little bias loves to make you think everything will turn out fine. Whether it's in your personal life or your survival strategy, optimism isn't just a sunny outlook, it's also the reason people ignore actual danger until it's too late. Picture this. You've been driving in the rain for a while, and you're feeling confident. The road's wet, but hey, you've driven in worse. You're weaving between cars like you're on a mission to break land speed records, convincing yourself that you've got it under control. But then, out of nowhere, your car hydroplanes. Oops. Why? Because that little voice in your head kept saying, "It's fine, I'm fine," even when all signs pointed to, well, maybe not fine. Your brain doesn't want to confront the reality of danger. Instead, it gives you that burst of feel-good optimism, telling you to just keep going. And when things inevitably go sideways, you're stuck blaming the weather, your tires, or literally anyone but the thing that got you into the mess. Your blind trust in that everything will be fine mindset. It's almost as if your brain believes you're a walking miracle, immune to the laws of physics and good judgment. And while that may feel empowering, it's not exactly a survival tactic that's going to win you any awards. Optimism might help you feel good, but sometimes it's just a one-way ticket to disaster town. Number 3, the Dunning-Kruger effect. Let's be real. We all know that one person who is absolutely certain they know everything about everything. The one who thinks they can out-explain the experts, even if they've never opened a textbook on the topic. Why? Because of the Dunning-Kruger effect. A lovely little cognitive bias where people with little knowledge on a subject think they're experts, just because they've dipped their toe in the water. You know that guy who started learning to play guitar a week ago and is now telling you that your favorite band's lead guitarist is overrated? He's not an expert, but his brain thinks he is. This bias is especially dangerous in survival situations because it leads you to make catastrophic decisions based on very limited information. Take someone who's never been to the mountains, but after reading one article about hiking, they decide to go for a solo trek on a tough trail. They think they can handle it because, hey, how hard can it be, right? You pack your bag, throw on a jacket, and suddenly you're a mountain expert, until you find yourself lost in the woods with no signal, no food, and no clue. That confidence came from the Dunning-Kruger effect. You didn't know what you didn't know, and now you're in way over your head. Here's the thing, the less you know, the more confident you tend to be. But knowledge, my friend, is where the real power lies. So maybe next time you feel overly confident about a situation, step back and ask yourself, do I really know what I'm doing? Number 2, the availability heuristic. Let's talk about your brain's love affair with easily accessible memories. You know that weird feeling you get when you're convinced something bad is about to happen because you recently saw a news story about it? That's the availability heuristic at work. A bias that makes you overestimate the likelihood of events based on how easily they come to mind. In other words, your brain loves to pick the things you've recently seen or heard about and blow them up into something much bigger than they are. Let's say you're about to go skydiving, and just a few days ago you saw a news report about a skydiving accident. Suddenly, all your brain can think is, oh no, this is going to be me. I'm going to be the one who gets caught in a freak accident. Why? Because your brain is prioritizing that memory of the accident you just saw. And now, it's convinced this is the most likely outcome for you. Never mind the fact that skydiving accidents are rare. Your brain doesn't care about statistics. It's locked in on that one news story, replaying it in your head like a broken record. This heuristic can be a problem in survival situations too. Let's say you've just read a horror story about someone who got attacked by a wild animal while camping. The next time you go camping, you'll probably have your eyes wide open for every rustling in the bushes, convinced that danger is lurking. But the reality is that wild animal attacks are incredibly rare. Still, that memory is so fresh in your brain that you're paralyzed with fear, overreacting to every shadow. Your brain is a bit like a toddler holding on to its favorite toy, refusing to let go of that memory because it's the most available thing. It's totally irrational. But it's hard to ignore the power of fresh memories and recent experiences when they're all your brain wants to focus on. Number 1. The normalcy bias. Here it is, the granddaddy of them all, the normalcy bias. It's that little voice in your head that refuses to believe anything catastrophic is going to happen, even when it's right in front of you. It's your brain's way of keeping things chill and comfortable, even when the world is quite literally falling apart around you. Let's say you're sitting at home watching TV when suddenly there's a massive earthquake. But instead of rushing to safety, your brain is like, nah, it's probably just a little tremor, nothing to worry about. I'll just sit here and continue watching my show. That's the normalcy bias in action. Your mind refuses to process the situation as a serious threat because it's not used to anything out of the ordinary happening. The problem with this bias is that it can delay your reaction in emergencies. Your brain is so convinced that everything is fine that it keeps you from taking the necessary steps to protect yourself. You'll sit there, waiting for things to go back to normal, all while the clock is ticking down to disaster. And by the time your brain finally catches up with reality, it could be too late. This bias is particularly dangerous when faced with life-threatening situations. People often ignore early warning signs of danger because they're in denial, convinced that everything will just go back to normal. So, next time something feels off, try to shake off that normalcy bias and take action before it's too late. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.